Hi, my name is Corrie and I love making paper houseplants. You may have seen my recent home tour where I showed you that I have them all over my place. And so today I'm excited to share with you how to craft a crimson glory vine. And what's really cool about the crimson glory vine is that this time of year, autumn, it starts to change color and it has lots of vibrant hues from green to red to yellow. So today we're going to craft it using several shades of paper, and I think you're really going to love it because you can use it on your Thanksgiving table or on your mantle, or just make it into a potted plant. So let's get started. And this is just text weight paper. You could do this project with cardstock. So the difference between text weight and cardstock is really just how it feels, you know, the thickness or the weight of it. And when I say text weight, just imagine like a little bit heavier than what you would put in your at-home printer. So I have here a couple shades of red, and yellow and green, and a sort of a wine or burgundy color. And it is called the Crimson Glory Vine, so we are going to lean in a little bit to these warmer shades. So the first thing I want to do is add a bit of watered down acrylic paint. And what we're trying to do is mimic when the leaf is just starting to change color and it's not just one solid hue. So what I like to do is sort of put the opposite color of paint on the opposite color paper, more or less. So like the yellow, I will put red and green, and on the red, I will put dark green and blue. And these are just inexpensive craft paints, and the blue is more of a dark navy blue, and the green is also a dark green. So what I do is water them down or dilute them, and we're going to do a wet on wet technique, and I'm just going to add about 2-to-1 ratio water to paint, about like that. It's not an exact science. I'm just taking my time mixing it up so I make sure everything gets diluted real good. What we're going to do is typically done in watercolor painting, but we're going to use acrylics, and that is called wet on wet technique. So what I want to do is wet the paper and then apply wet paint. So you can use these inexpensive brushes like this, or really any kind of soft bristle paintbrush that you might have. So the first thing I want to do is take some clean water and just paint it on like I'm painting it with paint, but it's just the water for now. And you got to move pretty quickly so it doesn't dry out on you. And number two, so I don't make the paper pill up, you know, because this is not watercolor paper. So, and then I'm going to put a little bit of the red just here and there. I'm not standing on ceremony over here. And now I'm going to put a little bit of blue. Not too fussy about it. And that's it. So I'm going to set this aside to dry and do the other colors. Once they're dry, if you notice that your paper has gotten a little bit wrinkly as it was drying because it was basically soaking wet, you can iron it with an iron on low heat. What you need to do though is just put it on your ironing board and put a piece of fabric there and then press them nice and easy and they'll be flat again. So now we just need to trace our templates onto this paper. We have 3 different sizes of templates here, and you know, I just printed my template on computer paper and then mounted it on a cracker box to be easier to trace. So you could do the same if you wanted. So you're just trying to fit them in, and it's just kind of nice because the randomness of it, the paint splotches from before, and ends up looking sort of naturalistic that way. Okay, so now we're just going to cut them out. Sometimes I like to rough cut it just so I can get all this business out of my way. What I mean by that is just going like this. Makes your life a little easier later on. Okay, so as you're cutting, be sure to hang on to your scraps because we'll use them in a later step. So now that we got everything cut out, what we're going to do is fold each leaf to mimic the veins. And we're going to use a bone folder. So you may be familiar with a bone folder. It's often used in bookbinding. And what it's good for is that it really presses the crease to make it nice and smooth and neat. So we'll use this on this project so that those veins that we're mimicking look really good. So the first fold is just in half. And then we press it with the bone folder. Then with this fold edge facing me, I want to create a 45-degree fold along right here on the leaf. Press it with the bone folder. And then I'll do that 2 more times. And then down here, I'm going to make another fold about like that. Also press that with a bone folder. Then open it up and I want to convince this side to fold in the other direction. So just by a little pinch. Okay, so now we're going to give each leaf its own little stem, and we're going to do that with some paper strips that we cut out from our scraps, some floral wire, straight floral wire, and a little bit of glue. Now I've just cut down my floral wire in half. Floral wire is sold by gauge. I'm working with 20 gauge here. You could also use 22 or 18. So the way it works is the higher the number, the softer the wire. So this is a good medium stiffness wire, but you don't have to be fussy about it. So what I want to do is apply a little bit of glue to the paper strip, and then I sort of press my wire into the center of that paper strip, and most times it'll pick up and stay in the middle like that. And then I flip it over, and looking at my wire while I'm simultaneously looking at the center fold of that leaf, I am lining them up. Okay, and this is when we can use our bone folder again, and we're just going to trace around the contours of that wire to really get that paper strip and glue nice and secure on the back of that leaf. Like this, like so. So if you want to, you can gently, while the glue is still wet, give it a gentle fold to allow that crease to stay intact. And we're just going to repeat that process on each leaf. Okay, so now that we've attached the wire stems to the back of each leaf, we're going to attach the leaves to yet another piece of wire to create vines and sprigs. And we do that working with floral tape or corsage tape. This stuff is kind of tricky to work with, so I'll do my best to explain it to you. It's more like kind of clay than it is what you imagine of a typical tape. And the adhesive is released when the tape is stretched. So as we're working, we have to be sure to be stretching at the same time. I'll show you what I mean. So I will grab another length of wire. You can use the same gauge, 20 gauge for this, or if you have 18. I'm going to start with a smaller leaf, and I'm just positioning it about 1.5 inches past the end. And right there where the end of this vine wire starts is where I'm going to start with the floral tape. And a lot of times I find it easier to start further down, work my way up, and then kind of turn back around again, just because it's difficult to get it started neatly right at the end of the wire. So the way floral tape works, you can see I'm pinching and pulling, and I'm also going to be twisting with my opposite hand, simultaneously pulling on that tape to release that adhesive. Twisting with this hand, I sort of do this pinching motion with my fingers, pulling at a 45-degree angle again so that it works its way down the wire, and also making sure to stretch so that adhesive inside that tape is working. And once I get past my leaf stem, I'm just going to tear it and press down that messy end. Okay, and then I'm going to add, you could add another little one or a medium-sized one, really whatever you like. I think I'm going to do, how about a medium yellow? So there's no exact rule to this. Maybe 1.5 inches or 2 inches below the first leaf, I'm going to add another one, and I'm going to apply the floral tape. And it's raining where we are, so if you hear the rain, we're having a rainy day in Brooklyn. And again, I'm pinching and turning with this hand, pulling taut at an angle with this other hand. And we'll just keep doing that until we are left with, I don't know, 4 or 5 inches at the bottom of the wire. As you're making the vines, keep in mind that they don't all have to be exactly the same length. So you don't have to work with this entire length of floral wire. You could cut it down from 16 to 12 or 10 or just in half and make short little sprigs. In that case, you'll only attach a couple leaves. But that way that when the vine is done, you'll have some variety. After we've assembled the vine and the sprigs, we're going to, working from the bottom, pull the leaves, bend the wire basically to either side. And the way I do that is to sort of hold on to the wire where the leaf stem is attached, just so I don't go yanking the whole thing off or something. And then so you can pull them to either side, but also think about pulling them in direction and space forward and away from you, just so you get some variety that's realistic and naturalistic. See what I mean? Jelly bean. And you can make as many as you like because it depends on what you want to do with the project. If you want to make a small little pot, then you only need a handful of little vines. If you're going to make an entire garland that goes across your whole mantle, well, you're going to have to make quite a few more. But what we're going to do today is make a little potted plant of the Crimson Glory vine. What you need to do is cut a piece of styrofoam to fit a couple inches down inside your pot. And you'll see here that I've also cut it at an angle to match the angle of the pot, just so it fits down in there real nice. And if you're turned off a little bit by styrofoam, you can do this with a couple layers of cardboard. You just want to make sure that you get a layer about here and then a layer a couple inches lower, just so you know when you go to stick the wire in, it doesn't flip to the side. We're going to add masking tape to this foam just because the next step I'm going to put what I call ground cover here, and that's just pebbles, and I don't want it to fall down into the inside of the pot. But you don't have to use pebbles or a little gravel like I'm using. You could use shredded paper or some kind of moss, sand. So now I'm just going to take this small gravel and add it to the top of the pot. I picked this up, I think, at a pet store because, you know, they have small gravel for the fish tanks. But you can find this kind of thing at a garden center or online. And this is why you wanted to cut your styrofoam or cardboard to be a little bit lower so that you have room for whatever ground cover you like to use. Pretty good. Now is the fun part because we get to assemble it. So let me see. I think we should start with a long one. And this one you can see I've already started to add a little gesture to it, a little curve. Let's see. Yes? Okay. And you know, depending on where you want to put this in your home, you can have the gesture go in one direction or in the other direction, or if you know you want to put it on the side of the bookshelf and you want it to drape down on the right side or the left side, now is the time to plan ahead and think about that so you can assemble it so that it looks the best in that location. And sometimes, like right now, I'm sort of making it and it definitely has a back and a front. And that's okay, especially if you know you're going to put it against the wall. Of course, if you're putting it in the middle of the table, you want to work in the round and make sure it looks good from all sides. But today, this one has a back. Let's see. Crimson Glory Vine. Ta-da! Dork. I had a lot of fun making this with you guys today. What do you think? How do you think it turned out? If you were going to make a Crimson Glory vine, what would you do with it? Are you going to put it on your Thanksgiving table? Maybe carefully around the turkey? Or are you going to put it in a pot like this? Or maybe turn it into a garland? I can't wait to see. Let us know in the comments. Like and subscribe to Handmade for more videos just like this.